It's going to be interesting. We've heard different things from the government that the T4s are going to be very different this year.
Okay.
The employer, and I'm glad I do not do payroll, the employer is going to either have to break it down into 3-month periods and show how much you made every 3 months to show that you were eligible for CERB. You didn't make more than you were allowed and still be on CERB. There was talk that they were going to break it down monthly, but there's not enough boxes on the T4 to fit it all.
Okay.
So they are trying to do some tracing to find out who were collecting CERB that shouldn't have been.
Sure.
Because there was basically no test. You logged in, said, yes, I want CERB, and they sent it to you.
Yeah.
A lot of small businesses, you had to have $5,000 net.
Yeah.
Well, there's businesses that maybe make $30,000, but by the time they take all their expenses off, they're only really making $3,000-$4,000, and then all of a sudden they thought, wait, I made $30,000 last year.
Right.
Well, no, your net income was
grossed,
only
yeah.
$4,000. You weren't eligible for CERB.
Yeah.
And they're all getting letters now going, we're seeing that you're not eligible for CERB. Could you please pay back that $14,000?
And the funny part I found was, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me on this, if you were an entrepreneur or business in that situation, you had the net $5,000. But if you were not, if you were just an employee, it was gross $5,000, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Which threw it off balance a little bit there myself.
It was worded on the form, but you really had to read the form when they're going through.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't really know the difference between gross and net.
Yep.
Gross is how much you brought in. Net is how much you technically put into your pocket after you paid all of your expenses. I know they're still going back to this person that was making $800 a month. There's a lot of complaints that, wait a minute, they were only making $800 a month, so they were making $10,000 a year, and now all of a sudden you're going to give them $14,000 over 7 months.
Yeah.
What's the incentive to go back to work?
Yeah.
And I've heard from some business owners that some of their wait staff wouldn't come back to work.
Yep.
Well, yeah, because the wait staff made less than minimum wage.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah.
it. So there was no incentive. I can sit at home and make $2,000. Now
Yeah.
after taxes, it's going to be $1,600, but
Exactly.
it's still more than they were making
Yep.
working 10, 12 hours a week somewhere.
Now, I know they did have a policy at one time saying that if you were asked back and you turned it down, saying, I'm not coming back, I'm staying home, they were able to cut your funding. But who polices that?
That's
the
exactly
problem.
it. The employer then would have to contact, there was a snitch line set up.
Okay.
And you could contact and say, this employee turned down work.
But nobody, of course, is going to do that.
That's exactly it. I think there's going to be a lot of audits on some businesses, especially big ones saying, why was this employee not coming back to work type of thing.
Yeah.
Now with the new CRB that is out, they're taking a little bit of tax, but I know even on the form, you have to mark down who your employer was
Okay.
and why you were not going back to work or why you were not called back to work. So they are adding in some more security features to make sure people aren't abusing it,
Yeah.
which is nice to see.
Exactly. It is nice to see.
And quickly, just because now we're almost running out of time, you know, CRA now or the Canadian Revenue Agency is busy with processing, you know, different benefit claims right now, the EI payments and everything else. And when tax comes, now the new influx of paperwork coming in, and they're all still working from home. Do you see people are going to take longer to receive their tax money back, or having to have answers on how much they owe? Or
No, the nice thing is, at least me being an e-filer, and I'll mention something on that in a second, as soon as I hit send from my computer, that is automatically processed, and I can look into your file and tell you exactly when your refund's coming.
Okay. No, that's perfect, because that makes it a lot easier, that's for sure.
The only thing I will mention is if you're getting your taxes done by an e-filer, make sure they're registered with Revenue Canada. I have to go through a test every single year to make sure that all of your information is locked securely away, because you've now given that person your name, your date of birth, your
All
SIN
the
number,
personal
your
Okay, all your
address.
personal, yeah.
I can become you overnight.
Okay.
So when you
good to
see
know.
these people going, I can do it for $10, watch what you're getting.
Exactly. Great show.
So then, great show. So how can people get a hold of you quickly or find you?
I'm on Mike's Tax Services on Facebook.
Yeah.
I post regularly there. If you have any questions, hit me up on Facebook and I'll answer anybody's questions, whether you're a client of mine or not. If I can help you out in any way, I'm more than willing to help you out.
And for our guests, we'll see you next week for a nice, exciting episode of John and Dave TV.